Hi, okay, so my name is Monica and I am making this video not to change the world or to become popular, but to educate everyone. I don't expect what I have to say to change everybody's point of view on anybody in the world, but I just kind of want to educate people and kind of give them like an insight on my life. So basically I'm going to talk about my son. My son was diagnosed with cerebral palsy on May 16th of 2011. But prior to being diagnosed, he was a premature baby. My water broke at 5 months, which is 25 weeks. From 25 weeks, I stayed in the hospital for a total of 2 months, so 49 days. It was hectic because I couldn't do anything by myself. I always had someone constantly watching me while I showered. I would like to think myself as a modest person, so to have people just kind of watch you shower and do your things in private was kind of weird. So that's what happened. I stayed in there for 49 days, and I had him at 32 weeks and 1 day, which accumulates to 7 months. So he was born early. He was put on a lot of machines. It was awkward because he was in an incubator, and I didn't get to hold him right away when he was born. He was born by a cesarean section. He was rushed right to the NICU, so I didn't get to hold him. So he's in a big plastic box with a bunch of holes in the side, like 4 holes, and the only way you can associate yourself with him or see him or anything is by touching him through that, but you have to get permission. To be told you have to have permission to hold your own kid, or to I guess bond with your kid, you have to get permission. It was kind of weird. It was hard watching always somebody take care of your kid, do what you're supposed to be doing. It was my job. I despise the nurses because of that. I know it's their job, but they're doing my job like he's my kid. I wanted to take care of him, type thing. So that part sucked, is to watch, them take care of my kid. But I like to think that what got him through there was a lot of prayer. But to me, being actually there every single day and night, constantly, I would go there sometimes at 3 in the morning. I would spend hours on end over there. A lot of people said it was bad to do that, but I didn't think so, because I knew that my son knew I was there, and he knew I loved him. I didn't want to not be there. I'm his mom. I would support him. I was cheering him on the sideline of the the incubator. So anyways, he's in there for almost 6 weeks. So he was released July 12th. And from there he was released on oxygen. Everything was good. He seemed real different. Even prematurity kids, you do have to give them that little extra space. So say they're 4 months. They're 4 months by birth, but in reality they're really 2 months. So I had that 2 months different. And even with that, he still wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. I kept voicing my concerns to the doctor and his pediatrician. He blew it off like nothing. When he'd examine my son, he would just basically flip him over on his stomach, on his back, and say everything's okay. Being a first-time mommy, I thought that was normal. I didn't know, so I didn't know. I trusted my pediatrician that he was doing the best of his ability. Even if I thought it wasn't his best, just, I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying when I don't know is, I didn't know as a mom how things are supposed to be medically wise, I guess. So after 8 months being with him and voicing my opinion numerous times, that guy didn't want to listen to anything I had to say. I voiced my opinion to my family. They thought I was crazy. Prior to that, I just knew something was wrong when 4 days before I had him, I was talking to my boyfriend, my son's father, and I had told him, I was like, look, either I'm going to die in this hospital giving birth to him, or Julian's not going to walk. And for me to all of a sudden come out and say this, like, it's weird. You know, I didn't want to think like that, but for some reason, like, my bones were telling me this. It wasn't a feeling I could just shake off. It was real life. Like, it was, I don't know how to explain it. Like, as a mom, you know, and I knew before I had him. But, so, to get back to my story, I constantly was telling everybody, you know, something's wrong, something's not right, and they kept telling me, you know, no, you know, you're fine, you're a first-time mom, you know, you're over worried and stuff, and I didn't feel that way at all. I knew something was wrong. My family thought I wasn't putting on the floor enough, and I was doing everything that came natural to me to do, and he wasn't accepting it. So I finally just said, Mom, enough with this new doctor, or enough with this doctor we had. Let's take him somewhere else. So we went to our local doctor, and right away she looked at him, and we weren't even in the room 5 minutes. She walked in, she was like, I'm sorry, but I'm not a special needs doctor. And I said, excuse me? And she goes, I'm not a special needs doctor. I don't specialize in him. And I said, what does that mean? She goes, I can't tell you. I'm general. I'm a general doctor. I don't specialize in kids like him. And it was just kind of like a slap in the face. Like, I knew something was wrong, but for somebody to validate that I was correct, it's kind of, you know, like, oh my God. So then I asked her, I was like, well, can you sign us to a neuro doctor? Because I don't know what's going on. I don't know where to start. And that's what she did. You know, like, she didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do, so I just threw what I, you know, knew out there. So we waited a while, and we got an appointment May 16th. And once before that, in between the times, I was on the internet, like, looking up different autism and Down syndrome. I know he didn't have Down syndrome because they tested him for that, but I knew something was wrong anyway, so I just looked up Down syndrome symptoms. I looked up everything, and nothing came up that I thought he had. But I didn't look up cerebral palsy. That was one thing I didn't look up. So when it came down to it, May 16th, we walked into the office, and she evaluated him, asked me a couple questions, and she wasn't looking at me eye to eye asking me questions. She was looking at him and just watching him. And she says, I'm going to tell you this right now. Your son has cerebral palsy. And I was like, what is that? And to be told that your kid's definitely different, and then knowing it, you would think it'd put me at ease, but it didn't. Because I didn't know how to take it. I was just like, what the hell? You know, it's like hitting a brick wall. So I was a little upset. I mean, I was a lot upset, but I was a little, like, taken back from it, because it was like, wait. She explained to me what it was. I still didn't understand, because a concept I like to use that a lot of people might not get, I'm going to explain it. It was like I buried my son and gave birth to a new one, because I imagined him doing, like, basketball, football, baseball, whatever he wanted to do. I expected him to be a regular kid, you know, doing everything regularly. It wasn't like that. It was like I buried that image of him. Not him himself, because he's still alive. But I buried the image of having that normal baby. And I gave birth to a brand new kid, a brand new life. Like, my life changed. Not only do I carry my own world, but I carry my son's world. So, you know, it was just hard. I didn't know. So, you know, I was upset. My mom went with me to that appointment. We cried together, you know. They told me he may never talk. They gave me worst case scenario first, which seems like it sucks at the time, but to prepare you for what's in store for the future, you know, you already know, a little heads up. They told me my son would never talk, all this other stuff, you know, and it was like, oh my God, you know, I imagine my son doing all this, and to be told he's not going to, you know, it sucked. So We got him into a bunch of physical therapy. We did everything we had to do. And my son is 2 years old now. And he says, Mama, bye-bye. When my niece was born, he was in the room, and her name's Alicia, so he says, Ali. He says, yeah, like, you know, like, whatever. He does a lot of things. He's very, 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 very smart. So when they told me that, you know, at the time, it's very shocking, and I had a lot of resentment. I questioned faith a lot because, I mean, come on, like, who wouldn't? In any situation that's bad, you question faith. Like, why would you do this? And, you know, regardless of what they told me, I still loved him. I never looked at him differently. You know, from the first time they told me, I just knew that I was going to live a different life, which was I was okay with. He's a very loving kid. He showed me a different life, you know, like, I love this kid to death. And I wrote something for him. First I'll show you pictures, because I mean, he doesn't look like he has anything. I mean, some kids you can tell and some kids you don't, but this was me and him. Oh, my light's on the way. Oh, there we go. See, me and him. That's when he was a baby. And then his little feet. I love his feet. See his feet. I mean, I'm proud. I'm a proud mom. And this is him now. I mean, like, he had the crossing of the eye for a while. A patch fixed that. So he's doing really good. Like, I wrote something out, and it's gonna basically repeat everything I just said. But he's like your typical 2-year-old boy. The only problem, like, let me give a definition, I guess, for cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy is lack of oxygen to the brain. So either during your pregnancy, during labor, delivery, anything like that, something happens where oxygen's cut off. It could be a couple seconds, you know, but it's cut off for a certain amount of time where damage is caused in the brain. It can affect your motor skills, you know, it can affect anything that you can think of. Muscles, it affects everything. So for us to do a simple wave to him, that message that my brain just sent to my hand to wave, it's not there. It's not receiving. There's something, you know, it just blocks. He's real stiff. There's different types. You could be limp, stiff, you know, tight, all that. There's so many different types of cerebral palsy within just cerebral palsy. I'm just going to read this because basically it says what I need to say. So I said, it took me this long to say something, not because I was scared or that I was ashamed, but because I had to educate myself on my son's condition. People may ask if I love my son more because of his diagnosis. The answer is simply this: no. It's what my son has, not who he is. I love him the way I love him because he is my child. Didn't matter if he was missing his ear or born with an extra arm. My son is my son regardless. I believe God gives us what you can handle, even if you think you might not be able to manage. At one time, I didn't believe in God. I would ask myself, if God really existed, then why would he bring hurt upon my heart? Why would he allow death to take away an unborn child? I prayed long and hard for him to allow my son to have a chance at life. I even told God I will handle whatever it is he should throw my way, as long as he allowed my son to live. And God gave me a clear as day answer. He gave me a 4-pound, 9-ounce premature baby boy on June 4, 2010. He let me be the mother I longed out to be. Ever since then, I've questioned the man upstairs. I have given him the ultimate, never-ending question, why? I never got a direct answer from him. Instead, I was taught his messages are sent from heaven, not to be decoded, but to be accepted for how it was written and why it was written. Everyone has a message. It is true when they say things happen for a reason. It may not be a reason we understand or we can bear, but it's a reason only he knows, which is very, very true. He only knows why he gave me Julian. And I am glad he gave me Julian, because I couldn't imagine anybody else raising him. Like, you know, when he first got diagnosed, I told my mom, you know, like, why me? Why did you do this to me? Because I felt at first like it was a punishment. And then my mom told me, because God knew that you can handle normal kids just fine. And, you know, I babysat all my life. And it's true. Like, I guess I'm good with kids. So since day one, I knew my son was going to be something great in life. I knew he was going to stand out from the rest. I didn't know if he would be a famous baseball player, a famous music producer, or an artist. But I knew, excuse me, but I knew my son was going to definitely stand out. It was 4 days prior of giving birth to him when my boyfriend and I were having a conversation. A conversation that came out of nowhere, a conversation I will never forget. I had told him either that I was going to die in the hospital or Julian might not walk. He looked at me extremely puzzled and told me everything was going to be okay. Guess what? Mothers do know best. On May 16, 2011, my son was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, a condition that affects the brain due to lack of oxygen. It happens while pregnant, during labor, or after delivery. What my son has is not the same as any other child with the same condition. It isn't a issue, it's not one size fits all. There are so many types. Even with the same diagnosis, it affects every child, teenager, and adult differently. What my son has isn't contagious, so by grabbing your kids and walking around him, making little rude comments or side, notes just makes us laugh hard at you. CP isn't an airborne disease or something you can catch overnight. What you need to be concerned about is your kids catching your stupidity and complete ignorance. My son is not defined by his disability. His name isn't Hey Kid with CP, Freak, or the personal favorite. It's not really. I'm just being a smart ass. Retard. It's Julian, a name given to him by me at birth, the same way a name was given to you when you were brought into this world. He has a birth certificate like everyone else, and the name on the certificate is what he's going to go by, Julian. Julian is not hard of hearing, so if you were to say something about him, he will hear you. My son is not dumb, stupid, or a vegetable. He's extremely brain smart. My son is very brain smart. Like I said, he lacks the muscle coordination of it, so he understands what you're telling him. He can't communicate that well back to you, but he tries. Like he tries. To where my son was at when he was 6 months old to where he's at now is a complete different kid, and that's the reward I get, is to watch him grow every single day as a person. And so, like, he's brain smart, very brain smart, and he learns the same way and the same things you and I were taught. The only thing is he might do it a little differently. There's no equipment that makes up for the brain, but there's equipment to make up for the arms and legs. So what I'm saying is, like, my son wears hand splints, hand splints, and he's in a wheelchair. He has equipment. So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you can't find stuff to help the brain. Like, the brain is the way it is forever. But we can always make up for other parts that can't be used. Like if our arms are defected, they can find, equipment for that, whatever. So people may stare at his equipment, which they do, or his cool-ass wheelchair, which they do, but I look at it as an accessories. The same way girls go around flaunting their diamonds, their jewelry, which I'm wearing a ring, I'm flaunting it in the camera. Best believe my son will be doing the same thing in his chair. With his equipment, he's gonna flaunt it because I'm gonna flaunt it. I'm gonna decorate it and everything. So that, like, people stare. Yeah, does it bother me? Sure it does, you know what I mean? But in school, I didn't care what anybody thought of me. I still don't. And why should I let whatever everybody think about my son bother me? I mean, he's my kid regardless. I love him regardless if you don't like him, whatever. So yeah, so So my son drools, like he can't control his slobber. So if you see him drooling, that's what he does. So my son drools a lot. Well, I know normal kids who eats his or her boogers, and people get grossed out by what my kid's doing. Like, the kids eat boogers, dirt, pick up gum from the bottom of the restaurant tables, and people get grossed out with my kid. Like, he drools, you know. Drool, the same thing you put in your mouth while kissing your significant other, or the guy or girl you just met at a club, at a bar, you know, like on the internet. You should be concerned with what you're putting in your mouth than what's coming out of my son's. There's a lot more disgusting things out there than a 2-year-old boy that drools. My son has an amazing personality, a contagious laugh, big, beautiful brown eyes, and the most sincere smile. My son's been through hell and back. He's been through a lot within the 2 years he's been here. So no matter what he goes through, though, he goes with it with a smile. It's amazing to see him reach leaps and bounds. He's an amazing kid. I can't get over his smile. Like, his smile brightens up my day. That's what I work for. I work for his smile and to see that he's happy. Sorry. Whew. So he has a sincere smile. Not a lot of people know that because they're too busy focusing on his differences. I'm going to rephrase that because nobody knows. A lot of people didn't know he has what he has. And that's okay, I guess I could say, because a lot of people don't know who has diabetes, who has cancer, none of that stuff. So to sit there and stare at him because you can see it, it's kind of, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is we don't know who has cancer on the inside. You know, he's the same kid on the inside. His outside's a little differently. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what he has. So no one knew that Julian had CP. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. No one knew he had it, so, you know, like, if you knew my son prior to his condition, then you still know the same kid. It's just, you know, there's something different about him. Just like, you know, like, if you knew me, I don't have diabetes, but you wouldn't know that, you know what I mean, by looking at me. So what I'm saying is, don't judge a book by its cover. Just open the first page, read a little bit, and get to know my book, because I love my book. Anyways, so, you now know that what he has, not who he is. Cerebral palsy, you know, is what he has, not who he is. He's not determined by that. It's just, you know, I have brown hair. He has CP. Like, you know, that, just like that. Okay, so I'm not asking for special treatment from anyone. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for him. If I felt sorry for him, that's me obligating to be a crutch, and I'm not going to do that. My son's going to do what everybody's doing, even if it takes him thousands of years. Well, not medically speaking. I meant to say metaphorically. Trying to be smart here. I guess what I'm saying is, like, even if it takes 6-7 years for him just to walk, it's going to take 6 or 7 years for him to walk. I'm not going to sit there and give up after the 5th year. I'm going to keep pushing until he needs to be where he needs to be. I'm going to push him extra hard. You know, parents are hard on their kids. I'm going to be hard on my kid. You know, I want him to be an amazing, you know, person in the world. He might not make a difference in your world, but he makes a big difference in mine. So, yeah. Okay, I'm asking everybody to respect him. Not only does that go for children, but that goes for adults, too. A lot of adults are fucking rude. Sorry, but they are. I don't like when an adult grabs their kids. You know, you're teaching your kids that being different is not okay. Just because you can see my son's differences, that doesn't make him okay. No, that's okay. Like, we're in 2012 now, people. We can get over that. There's a lot of different people out there, different looking. I'm different from the next. Like, come on. Children needs to be taught how to think, not what to think. I do not treat my son any different than a 2-year-old boy. I refuse to use what he has as an excuse not to live. Like, he has CP, okay? Well, he has it, okay? So now we gotta do what we gotta do. But he's still a 2-year-old boy, so I do what any mother would do with a 2-year-old boy. I play with him in the dirt. I wrestle with him. I tickle him. We play catch a little differently than you normally would, but we play catch. So yeah. I roughhouse him, tickle him. We play ball. Anything a 2-year-old boy is doing, we are doing. Maybe not in the same way, but no matter what way it's being done, my son enjoys every bit of it. It's the adventure and the journey that makes life worth living. My son's taught me it's the littlest thing that count, not the petty things. He's taught me that whoever said the grass is greener on the other side is totally wrong. Everybody views the world differently, from a 2-year-old child to an 86-year-old man. But no matter how we view the world, we all agree we live in the same world. To me, this is a hero. He may not be that famous baseball player or that famous music producer or that artist I imagined, but my hero has faced death before he faced life. He faces whatever life throws at him without a doubt in his mind. He exceeds his own goals just to make new ones. He may not wear a cape and fly around saving the world, but he makes my world. This right here is my hero. I'll run. Oh, hold on. I lost my spot. I'll run when I can. I'll walk when I have to. Shit, I'll crawl if I must. But I'll never give up on my son. The reason most people tend to give up is because they look at how far they still have to go instead of how far they have come. It doesn't matter how slowly you go as long as you don't give up. I'm in the fight against cerebral palsy because I love my son. But, so, you know, as of now, Julian's very dependent on me. Very dependent. For a while, I was going out, not to have fun, but to kind of drink away my problems, which I learned the very hard way not that long ago. You do not do that. You know, I just turned 21. You don't drink for the wrong reasons. You drink to have fun, I guess, or don't drink at all. But I was drinking for the wrong reasons. But so this is my video for my son. I hope I educated at least a couple people watching it. Toodles.